Hey guys, this is Nikki in Rome. So just a check-in update from me. Um, I've just moved into Rome this month. I have been. So let's just backtrack a little bit. I came from France, and I've been living in France since September last year. I lived in a town called Nancy. It's found in the northeast part of France. And Nancy is a small town, well, mid-sized town. So it's like in between Paris and a small town in France. So it's pretty much okay. It's a university town. A lot of the people living there are university students because there's a lot of universities out there. The most prevalent one is called the University of Lorraine, which is, I think, a state university, if I'm not mistaken. So, anyways, um, I find it a bit different. Like the system in France, for instance, is a bit different than in the Philippines or in Japan, which I think the universities are designed just like that in the US, where the university is just all in one place and everything related to university is there. But in France, the university is a bit integrated into the town or into the community. So, for instance, in Nancy, my like there were many campuses, there were many schools spread all over town, and it was interesting because I was going to the School of Mines, which was doing engineering stuff, and it's located on one part of the town. But I was also attending some sports classes, which were offered near the School of Letters, which was found in a different part of town. So in a way, I really enjoyed it because I was able to explore the town as well as the different schools of the university. It was nice. When I was in the Philippines, I went to the University of the Philippines, found in Diliman, Quezon City, and it's just in one place. So if I wanted to go to the School of Science or College of Science, as we call it, I would have just taken one ride of public transportation. We call it a jeepney, or I could just walk from my dorm, which was also found inside the university. And another thing that I find interesting in France is that there were student housing provided for students, and they were subsidized by the government. Like all of the students, as long as you pay in for the insurance, so the social insurance, you will be entitled to apply for subsidy from the government. And I did that. And it was really interesting. Although the bureaucracy in France is not as efficient as in Japan, but it still works. And I think everything there was a bit centralized. So we had this office in the university that handles everything related to international students. So they help us, and they had contact information with the government offices. Like, for example, when we applied for student housing, they were they had contact information of the this government office dealing with the subsidy for accommodation. And when we applied for health insurance, for example, they also knew who to contact to the health insurance department of the local government. So I think France did a great job of doing this, of centralizing stuff, although I believe it must have been such a headache when they were just doing it initially in the past. So kudos to France for streamlining processes. I really appreciated that in that aspect. I don't think this is the same in Japan or in the Philippines. So Japan is very efficient in everything, but things are not as centralized as in France. I think Japan is very slow to centralizing or streamlining things. And then what else? I also enrolled to the health insurance in France because I paid into the like we were like my program paid us into the um like insurance, the social insurance in France. So we were entitled to health insurance as well. Healthcare in France is so wonderful. Like it's really hard to for me it was difficult, like I couldn't even differentiate the difference between public and private healthcare because when you get your health insurance you can go to any doctor and you're entitled to it. Like you could just go in for a consultation and your health insurance you get a discount or you get coverage depending on your tier. Like everyone has tiers, so depending on your tier you get a certain amount of coverage. So it was great on that aspect. And I also went to the town, the city public hospital, and I think France has a system recently, or has a promo or a campaign where they promote healthy sexual health. Like yeah, they promote sexual health. So I went to the public hospital of the town to have myself tested regularly, which was really great. And it was all for free because it's like part of the campaign. So France is doing such a great thing regarding healthcare. And if you're looking like from like I don't know, like it's 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 major for me to like healthcare is major for me. It's important for me. So if I were to choose where to live in, I'd really look into the healthcare of the country. And if you're in on healthcare, I definitely suggest looking into France. So I was like trying to compare this to Japan. Japan also has a good healthcare, but I think it also has similar coverage as in France. Like normally you get covered 70% and then you pay out 30%. In France though, if you avail of a private insurance, your private insurance covers the 30% that was not covered by the mandatory healthcare. So it's very similar to the system in Japan. But the difference is they have a strong healthcare system in France that, for example, in my town, the public hospitals offered free screening, free vaccination, which I never experienced in Japan. So, for instance, when I went to France and they had my blood work, they found out that I needed some booster shots like hepatitis, tetanus, MMR. These are mandatory in the Philippines as well. So, when I was born, I got these shots when I was a kid, but apparently my count in my blood is low, so they need to give me some booster shots, and I got them all for free because it's mandatory. Like it's part of the campaign of the government, so it's great. I've never had that in Japan. I also didn't have, maybe because of uh, my limitation with the language, I wasn't able to avail this, but I've never heard of such system in Japan. So, another thing about the language. So, the French, they speak French, obviously, but they try to speak English. So, some of the doctors found it hard to, like, some of the doctors find it difficult to communicate in English. But when I talk to them in English, they understand. I guess it's because, French is also similar to English in a way because of the source of the language. So it was easy for them to communicate with me. It was nice. And that's my update about France. So I'll update you soon about my move to Italy. I'm actually here outdoors, in the commute, like in the neighborhood where I am in. I'm in Rome right now. It's it's a really nice neighborhood, to be honest. I'll show you some parts of it. Yeah, and I get a lot of sun here. I really like this. Like I really like this place that I chose. It's really nice. There's outdoor seats and I get to enjoy the sun. I get to enjoy my work under beside trees, under the canopies of trees in nature while listening to the birds. I hope they don't shit on me though. All right. Ciao, everyone.